have you been thinking about selling your artwork online, but you are definitely unsure where to start because there's so many platforms out there? Well, in this video, I'm going to compare Shopify, Etsy, and Ko-fi, three platforms that I'm familiar with and have used in the past. One of these platforms can save you hundreds in fees, while the other one could bury your shop under thousands of listings. I'll be breaking down the pros and cons of each platform and some of the features they have so that you can make an informed decision before launching your shop. Alright, so now let's break each platform down, starting with Shopify. So as someone who actually owns a Shopify store, I feel like it's one of the best go-to platforms if you want control of your branding. So that's like website design and like customer experience, really. So Shopify does not force you to follow a certain set of marketplace policies similar to Etsy, which we'll get into later. You get to make the rules for your own shop, which is super awesome. So let's get down to the pros. I'll give you the good news and then the bad news last. So with Shopify, you get a professional looking site with your own domain name. So instead of having like an Etsy or Ko-fi URL, like it'll have like your brand name and then like etsy.com or whatever, you get to have a custom name, just like mine is illustratingchristy.com, right? And it just looks a lot more professional, more polished, I guess. Another good advantage is that there is no competing against other listings like you would see in Etsy. Your shop is your own space. So people just go to your shop and they only see your shop. There's no other distractions around it, if that makes sense. Another advantage with Shopify is there's a lot of integrations you can add and customizations. So you can integrate SEO, analytics, email marketing, all of that within Shopify, which is awesome to manage in one platform. And you can customize the theme that you find, fonts, colors, and layouts. It also manages shipping rates, and you can also add third-party shipping carriers. It also manages built-in payments like PayPal and credit cards and other options as well. I add Pirate Ship to mine, which is super awesome. However, there are some disadvantages to that, right? With all of this awesome stuff that comes with Shopify, there is a fee. So the cost of Shopify is actually $39 a month. Yes, $39 a month. So if you're not making sales, if you're not making at least $39 every month, you're eating that cost, man. You're eating it. And I have been there, and sometimes I'm still there. So just an FYI. Another thing is, I know I mentioned that Shopify has all these custom features and stuff like that. It is easy to set up initially, but when you're trying to add like all this extra stuff, there is a bit of a learning curve with Shopify. So I'm going to put this as a con because you kind of have to do a lot of research, watch some YouTube videos, learn a little bit of coding maybe, depending on what you're trying to do. So it's not easy like just adding your products to a store like you would with Etsy or Ko-fi and everything else is just done. If you want it to look a certain way or act a certain way or behave a certain way, I should say, there is a learning curve to that. So just keep that in mind. So the other unfortunate thing about Shopify is there is no built-in audience that would find your products, right? You have to market yourself. You have to use SEO, you have to use ads, social media to promote yourself so that people can go and click on your website and check out your products. It is, and I will say this from experience, a lot of work. But if you're serious about like building your brand, I would say that Shopify is definitely a good platform for you. You just have to learn more about marketing yourself and your products so that way you can get the customers to shop in your store. However, if you want built-in traffic, I think Etsy would be the way to go. So let's talk about that real quick. So a lot of you know Etsy, I'm sure, by now. Etsy started as a platform for handmade goods, craft supplies, and vintage items. It was amazing. I remember it back in the day. However, it has changed a lot over the years. It used to be a haven for independent artists, but now it's just a platform with lots of drop shipping, mass produced goods, and even overseas manufacturers. So there's a lot more competition now. If you're an independent artist, right, you make handmade goods or whatever, you're now competing against factory made items that are priced significantly lower than yours. So it's just something to keep in mind because it is a little frustrating for a lot of Etsy artists from what I hear. So let's talk about the pros of Etsy. It is easy to set up. You just add your items on the Etsy page and then it's uploaded. There's no design needed. You can add a banner, but it's not like a lot of work initially. So you can get your store up and running immediately, like almost immediately. Another pro is that buyers search Etsy every day. So your items could be seen by millions of people in a day. Millions. So I think that is such a great advantage if you are trying to get your products noticed like ASAP. So that I think those are my only two pros. It's easy to set up and get the ball rolling, and it's easier to be noticed. I did in the beginning start with Etsy and I was not getting the traction I was hoping to get. I didn't like what I was seeing on the platform, but that's just me. If you want to give it a shot, it is a good platform to kind of like get your items pushed out to people who are browsing Etsy because it's easier for your items to be noticed there than on Shopify or on Ko-fi. All right, let's talk about the cons of Etsy. So, as you guys know, Etsy can get expensive over time, I think. They've raised their transaction fees multiple times over the years. I think it was 5% in 2018 and increased to 6.5% in 2022. I'm not sure what it is right now. I think it might still be 6.5%, so correct me if I'm wrong. But you have to also factor in the payment processing fees and ad fees. So let me break it down for you real quick. If you make a sale, Etsy takes 6.5% for the transaction fee, plus 3%, 3 for the payment processing fee, plus a 25-cent fee per order. Can you do the math? I'll do the math for you, okay? And I could be wrong here, but if you sell something for $20, right? Then after all the fees, you might only keep around $17, I think, or less. I'm not sure, but that is before your material costs and your shipping costs. It's a lot of money, but a lot of people justify it because you are getting technically free advertisements. They push your products out, people see them, and you make the sales. Versus having products sit on a shelf on a Shopify store and no one even knows it exists and you're paying $40 a month. So it really depends on how you want to approach selling your items and how urgent it is for you to be noticed, or there's lots of little factors that go into making that kind of decision. So yeah, that's the first con. It's the high fees. Now, the second con is that it's overcrowded with drop shippers that are shipping mass-produced goods. Like, there's an incredible amount of them now. I don't know how that even happened because it was such a great site for independent sellers. So I don't know what happened there. The last con is that you have less control over your brand. And so Etsy pretty much promotes competitors in your listings. You can go to a listing and you'll see your product there, right? But then in that listing, you'll see the competitors as well. So you don't really have control over that. So overall, if you're just starting out and you just want traffic to your products, I think Etsy is a really good platform for that. However, there's still Ko-fi, which is completely different than both of these platforms. So let's talk about that. So Ko-fi is a really, really great option for selling artwork, your commissions, or even Patreon style memberships. It is even often thought of as like a tip jar or a place to sell digital downloads, which is what I do. But it actually has a shop feature where you can sell physical products as well. I really like Ko-fi because it has the Etsy aesthetic to it. It also has like a Patreon aesthetic. And then you can also control some of the branding on there, like customizing the theme and things like that, similar to Shopify. So I think Ko-fi is a nice middle ground, maybe. I'll show you some examples because I just bought some artwork from Galactic Cat and My Lady Letters. So I'll show you both their shops. As you can see, they both have their own different like theme. You can have a banner, a profile photo, and then their shop page can be organized a certain way by categories. And so as you can see, they both sell physical goods. So you can sell physical products on Ko-fi if you don't want to just do digital items like I do. I sell coloring pages, digital wallpapers, and membership tiers on my Ko-fi. And I also, on my Ko-fi, I'm able to update my followers on there on what I'm working on. It's a great place to like communicate with your community while also having a storefront there as well. So I think it's a really great platform to be an all-in-one. So let's talk about Ko-fi's pros first. I think the best thing about Ko-fi is that there are no monthly fees, like absolutely none. So if you're hesitant about Shopify because of the fees, Ko-fi is a great place to start. There are fees if you join their gold memberships, and the gold membership offer like certain benefits and stuff. But honestly, if you're just starting off, it's better to just not get into that unless you're like ready. I think that starting with Ko-fi makes starting your own art business actually a lot more affordable. And I will say that obviously I had to promote myself to get my community on there, but it was a really good starting place so I could understand product listing and beautiful thumbnails and banner branding and things like that. Another pro about Ko-fi is there is a feature where you can set it up so that your customers can pay what they want. Instead of having a price tag on something, it could just say, pay what you want. If you made something and you're not sure how to price it, or you don't feel comfortable pricing it and you just want somebody to support you, it's a nice little feature because then you could just choose the pay what you want option, and then when customers go to the product, they could enter any dollar amount that you set and they pay what they feel like the value of that product is. So it puts less pressure on you on trying to figure out what to set your prices at, because I've had that issue in the past. So that's a really great pro. Another great pro is that there is an option for you to have memberships set up. So if you're familiar with Patreon, you can have tiers. So there's like, you could do a $1 tier, a $2 tier, a $3 tier, whatever, and offer like benefits to those things. So I do my $1 tier is you have access to like my work in progress artwork posts, and then like I have a $5 tier where you get digital downloads like wallpapers and coloring pages, and then my $10 tier is where you get physical goods from me, so art prints, postcards, stickers, and sticker sheets. And you can set that up however you'd like, but I thought that was a really great feature that Ko-fi offered. Okay, time to talk about the cons of Ko-fi, right? One of the things that kind of pushed me away from Ko-fi is the fact that you can't have a bank deposit. You can only use PayPal. And I don't mean like your customers can only use PayPal. I mean like if you want the money transferred to you, it's only transferred through PayPal. And obviously through PayPal you can transfer it to your bank account, but I just thought that was a little inconvenient, and especially since I don't necessarily like PayPal for personal reasons, but it's my only option. So another thing about Ko-fi is that you still have to market yourself. It doesn't have a built-in marketplace like Etsy. So you have to promote yourself through social media and let people know that your Ko-fi exists. And a lot of people are not familiar with Ko-fi, so when they hear Ko-fi, they're like, what is that? What are you talking about? Everybody knows Shopify, everybody knows Etsy, but like Ko-fi for some reason is still like unheard of. So overall, if you're looking for a simple way to list your products without marketplace fees, then Ko-fi definitely is a platform for you. And it's also a great way for your fans to support you. So, which one is best for you? Let's recap. So for Shopify, if you want to use that, you can use it for full control over your branding if you don't mind marketing. For Etsy, you can use it if you want an easier way to be discovered, but don't mind the high fees. For Ko-fi, if you want a more Patreon kind of style shop where you can have membership and also have your shop storefront stuff and a little bit of branding, I think that would be a really good option. If you don't mind having to link your PayPal to have everything deposited. The issue with PayPal though is like they could hold your funds. Like you could not have access to your funds, and that just scares me. So just keep that in mind. At the end of the day, the best platform really depends on what works for you. I have spent a lot of time trying to figure out where to sell my art, and really there's no perfect answer, which is why I used 2 of these options out of the 3. I sell on Shopify, so I could have like a more professional looking website to put on my business cards and for people to land on when I promote myself. But I also wanted an area where I could communicate with my community, which isn't just like social media, like Instagram. I wanted a platform where it's just us, and that's Ko-fi. And then I could also have my memberships there, so that's extra income as well coming in. But some people thrive on Etsy, and I don't want to dodge it. I really think it's a great option if you're trying to get your name out there. So I just wanted to offer a little bit more of an advice as we near the end of this video. Running a small business, especially as an artist, can feel really overwhelming sometimes. But what really matters is that you just start. You will definitely learn as you go, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way. I definitely have, and I still do. So let me know which platform you're leaning towards in the comments. If you made it this far, throw a star emoji in the comments or let me know what made you smile today, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!